Hey, I'm Eric. I'm the owner and founder of Revelate Designs here in our Anchorage, Alaska workspace. We're celebrating our 15-year anniversary this year, and so yeah, we thought we'd take a look back at where we've come. My roots are in mountain biking. I was mountain biking in high school before they were kind of cool. Like, I kind of got tired of hitting BMX jumps out in the street, so I'd go to the woods and get muddy instead. As I got into college, I started racing, but quickly realized that I wasn't really good at that. I just wasn't fast at all. So I got into like longer and longer kind of rides and events. And eventually I started doing endurance racing, like 100-milers and 24-hour kind of things. And then got into touring. So my first big bike tour was in the Indian Himalayas with my friend Dan. And we had our mountain bikes and we towed trailers for 2 months in Ladakh in the Indian Himalayas. And we overpacked and we had too much stuff. We had a lot of stuff break. You know, I broke a whole trailer, had it re-welded by the Indian Army. And then after that trip, I was like, I'm gonna go back and trim everything down and go the complete opposite. So my next big trip was in South America just a few months later, and I went the complete opposite direction. And that was kind of my first real bike packing trip. So for that trip, I had a friend sew me a frame bag because I had seen them in people in Alaska actually doing the Sport race for winter. And I was like, oh, I want one of those, that's key. So I had a friend sew me one of those, and I had a rear rack, and I just started strapping on different compression sacks and dry bags. And I was using the backpack lid as a handlebar bag. And I just sort of made it work with a whole lot of straps and kind of jerry-rigging, but it was a really light, tight setup, honestly, for the time. On that trip, I kind of ended up suffering a lot because I brought really little. And so the next trip I did was a 6-month trip in South America. And then I kind of went a little bit of both ways. I had real panniers, but I had a bike with a frame bag and some homemade stuff. Yeah, just sort of kept learning and things kept evolving, and, you know, kind of came back from both of those trips with like a lot of new gear ideas. At the time I was a civil engineer, and I was really disconnected with my work. You would do all this design work, but never really see it come to fruition. You'd never really see the end product of it. As I started building my own gear, I had this real awesome feeling of instant gratification where you design something, sketch it out, sew it together, and have a tangible item that you could then go use and test, and you get just this real quick feedback loop, and I loved it. So, you know, over the years, I kind of got better at sewing, self-taught, and soon enough, I started making frame bags for friends, and I was just in a rental in downtown Anchorage at the time, and I started making some gear in this garage. Eventually, I got an industrial sewing machine, and started making a lot of winter-specific gear for fat bikes. Kind of word got out, and before you knew it, like within a couple months, I was making like a ton of frame bags for both like the local fat bike scene and endurance fat bike events all across the country. I took out an ad on like mtbr.com, which was like the big place for fat bike stuff at the time, and pretty quickly had just like a full inbox of people wanting frame bags for both mostly winter events, like the Arrowhead 135, you know, and the winter races up here. And it was basically like nobody was really making frame bags or, you know, technical bike carrying stuff for these lightweight systems out of like modern materials, or with, you know, anything other than just like strapping some bags on a rack. So I just saw this like amazing opportunity for improvement. And over the course of like a whole winter, just started iterating and trying to come up with better ways of making handlebar bags and frame bags and stuff like that, just for higher volume winter use. Right around the same time was when some of the big routes in the lower 48 were really starting to gain popularity, namely the Tour Divide, Great Divide Race, Arizona Trail, and the Colorado Trail. People knew about me from, word of mouth or like through the winter events and stuff. And really quickly I had a whole bunch of demand from like a real hardcore group of people for, hey, this is great, you're making this stuff, kind of for fat bikes, but I need it now. I need a smaller bag for the Colorado Trail. And so I just started working on that stuff too. It was around that time, that was like 2008, when I really felt like I was a bikepacking gear maker. I was in what I would call our garage surfing phase. When I started off, I was in this unheated garage in downtown Anchorage in March and April, and it was freezing. I was sewing with puffy jackets on. I moved between 5 different garages and within a 2-year period. It was crazy. I think the last garage I was in was my friend Jeff put me up in a 2-car garage, and they still needed to park their car in it. So I had like, a slot and a half kind of for some machines and a sewing table, but made it work, built a lot of bags in those garages. Revelate really prides itself on bringing a lot of systems and designs to the table that have kind of become industry standards. We were the first to introduce a modular handlebar dry bag system with a removable front pocket. We're the first to have standard size frame bags, both partial and full. We're the first to have a removable dry bag seat bag system, like a holster seat bag system. We were the first to have fully waterproof handlebar bags. Yeah, the list goes on, but a lot of these things in like high volume cockpit bags, mountain feed bag, all those things were kind of firsts, and even the names of them have become what they're called. Like our harness is the harness industry wide now. Both myself and Dusty and other designers and the whole crew here, we're in Alaska. We're using bike gear every day for whatever use, whether it's commuting or personal trips. We're testing it and we're refining it, and it's really all we do. We're totally focused on building the best bikepacking gear we can, and our bar is high. We're trying to make gear for pretty extreme use, but that just makes sure that, like, if you're just using it for road biking or commuting even, or something not as demanding, that it's just going to perform excellent.